Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Soul Seekers podcast, where we believe that hunting has the power to transform lives through primal adventure as we share our mission of mentorship is conservation. To learn more about everything we do, check out our show on Carbon TV or go to soulseekersnation.com. Freedom on, everybody, and stay soulful. If you want to take your shooting experience to the next level, then check out Coltac gear for 100% made in America products. Coltac manufactures specialty gear designed for long-range shooting, hunting, and other tactical applications. From their support bags, suppressor covers, shooting mats, and a whole lot more, Coltac is creating tough, durable, and innovative gear for both civilian and professional markets. Go to coltac.com to see all that they have to offer. That's cole-tac.com. If you are looking to get a new rifle or build your own, look no further than Kelbley's. Kelbley's actions and rifles have a higher level of accuracy and hold 92 world records set on either one of their rifles or rifle actions. Whether you're looking for an ultralight mountain rifle or wanting to compete in precision rifle shooting, Kelbley's has you covered. Go to kelbley.com to find out more or give them a call as their customer service is the best. That's KELBLY.com. Kelbley's. If you're looking to take your hunting to another level, there's no better way to do it than by subscribing to onX Hunt. If you want to get better at hunting and go deeper into your scouting, onX is the #1 GPS app for that. Join the millions of hunters who trust onX Hunt to find more game, discover new access, and hunt smarter. If you want to know more about onX, go to onxmaps.com/hunt or download their app today for a free trial. If you are wanting to become more accurate and deadly with your shooting, one of the best things you can do is upgrade your trigger with a Timney. Timney triggers are 100% made in America and have been since their founding, providing a crisp, reliable, and repeatable trigger break every time. I'll be shooting Timney triggers in my guns this year, and I hope you'll join me in shooting the world's finest trigger. Go to timneytriggers.com to get yours today. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Soul Seekers podcast. I'm your host, Johnny Mack. Today's episode is one that is very dear to my heart. Our guest for today is the winner of HuntLeague's 2024 Outdoorsman of the Year award and just an all-around amazing human being, somebody who has spent countless hours and miles on the trail with me, not hunting, but training for ultra marathons. He is a father, he is a hunter, a wonderful human being, and he's going to be sharing a lot of his stories and mindsets on how he goes about life and hunting and all in between. Without further ado, today's guest is Joshua Katanik from the state of Idaho, formerly state of Washington, and just an amazing guy. Joshua, my brother, so good to have you on. How you doing, man?
Doing good, Johnny. Thanks for having me, man.
I love it. You are such a old soul from my perspective. You're wise beyond your years, and you are just so not melancholy, because melancholy is like blah. You're just chill. You're smooth. You're a smooth cat, man. And I really appreciate how you roll and operate. And it makes me want to be around you more. And all the listeners out there, when you find people like Josh and how he operates, and you find people that inspire you to be better, don't lose track of them. Keep them in your community, because if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. And if you are we always want to sharpen ourselves, and iron sharpens iron. So the countenance of one friend to another. So Joshua, it's been 5 years since you and I have shared a trail together, training for a 100-mile ultra marathon. A lot of life has happened in between then, and a lot of hunting has happened in between then. You've become a father, you've moved to the state of Idaho, and when you got to Idaho, it was like God's gates opened up and shined down on you and blessed you for going to the promised land, because you came to Idaho. You then all of a sudden went on an absolute tear. You drew a moose tag, you shot an elk, you shot a wolf, you shot black bears. Did you get a mule deer in there as well with that?
No muleys, but I got my first couple whitetail now, actually. Yeah.
There you go. See, I'm just down here in the state of Texas, just my jaw was on the floor. I'm like, oh my gosh, another one? Because you and I would talk about hunting so much as we would run those trails. mile after mile, hour after hour, and just talk and share stories and get deep. And we planned on hunting together. Like that year, we were planning on doing a little spring bear or fall bear hunt together, and then everything went to crap. COVID hit the world, and everyone's worlds got rocked. I moved to Texas, you moved to Idaho, and life happened. So, brother, it's good to see you. You just got back from a short little journey out in the woods yesterday, didn't you?
Yeah, got my honeydews done. Shauna gave me the go ahead and go after a bear. Hadn't really spent much time stretching the legs yet this season. Just had one turkey sit in the evening. The following morning, they weren't really cooperating for me. So back to the drawing board I went, and had a buddy reach out just last minute saying that, hey, I wanted to check out this drainage. You want to go in? Got permission. We went in and didn't end up finding a boar, but we found a sow with 2 cubs. Real chocolate, nice, pretty chocolate sow. And then in all of that, ended up finding a nice 5-point brown elk shed. And that's pretty cool. That's my first Rocky Mountain elk shed. So since moving to Idaho, I've been having some pretty good luck in finding moose paddles, but hadn't come across any elk sheds yet. So
Ooh,
that was pretty special. But yeah, we what'd we do? We did 7 miles, 1,200 feet gain, and just messing around up in the mountains looking for a boar, and weren't able to find it, but just getting out there and finding bears and exploring a new area is what it's all about for me anyways. So
yeah, I love that. Well, real quick, give me a little insight. Let's talk spring bear here for a second. I'm going to be flying up to Idaho here in 2 weeks, and it's going to be the first week of June, which traditionally is the kickoff of the rut. So bears are not focusing so much on the green grass off of the snow line. They're moving. They're going to be a little harder to find. What was your target location? How did you narrow down, or how did your buddy narrow down this drainage that he wanted to check out?
we primarily target south-facing slopes just because those are the ones that green up and melt out the snow and green up the fastest. And that just happens to be, that's just been my tactic ever since listening to the podcast you did with, forget his name, but the guy from Bear Hunting Magazine, I believe is what it was. Yeah. So listening to your interview with him, like, just basically gave me a checklist of things that I need to be doing in a time frame. So any of your listeners that are curious about how to be successful with spring black bear hunting, go back and check out that podcast. I can't recommend it enough.
That's Bear Hunting 101 with Clay Newcomb is what
yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. That was a great episode.
Yeah. So we're constantly targeting those south facing slopes. Up here in North Idaho, I'm not really sure what it's like down in Southern Idaho. I can't wait to get down there, but I have not yet, other than firefighting and whatnot. But up in North Idaho, we have certain units that you can bait in, and the other units that I like to target are units that where baiting is not allowed, because you're going to find those animals on the natural landscape in their natural vegetation and habitat. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of what I lean towards. But that doesn't mean, like, what the unit we were in yesterday, that is a unit that you can bait in. And so your tactics change up a little bit when it comes to that. Like, in a unit where you can't bait, I can probably be a little bit closer to some of the roads, just because not every drainage is going to have a bait, or not every ridge is going to have a bait. But where we went yesterday, we kind of had to go in, explore the area, find out what made the most sense for the bait hunters to be utilizing, and then pull out, go around, and go in and try our tactic. And that's what we did. And sure enough, as soon as the storm rolled through, the skies parted, and that bear and the sow and cubs came right down the ridge, and it was like, yep, this is exactly where she's supposed to be. So,
man, that's beautiful. I love that. And I'm glad that you were able to use a former episode of the podcast as something to really support you on your journey. And you've been like I've had success from that episode specifically. So,
Yep.
dude,
Yep.
that's awesome. That's awesome. And then that was episode 29. That was back when it was a Soulful Hunter podcast. I just released episode 320 today.
Yeah.
It's
been a while.
It has been a while. I can't believe I've been podcasting for this long, but that is awesome. All right, so brother, you've been out, you're getting after it. Just real quick, let's talk preparation for hunting. You've been a person who inspires me because of your physical fitness and your mental dominance when it comes to overcoming challenging things. You and I decided to run or train for a 100-mile ultra marathon back in 2019 with the plan of running a race together. And we trained, and you and I, how many miles do you think you and I ran together? Maybe over 500?
Yeah, I mean, it was weekends upon weekends upon weekends of every Saturday
Every
going out
Saturday
and
was,
running
yeah,
a marathon.
yeah. You and
And
I'd
then
run a
running.
marathon on a Saturday. Just be like, hey man, let's go get together.
Yeah. Yeah. Running a marathon on Saturday, recovering on Sunday, and then throughout the week running 3 to 6 miles a night.
Yeah,
It was
it's so
a
impressive.
lot of miles.
It's a lot of miles. A lot. You know what? The most amazing thing that I feel like running specifically. Now, obviously, us as men and us as we getting older, we need to be continuing to lift weights. We need to push heavy weights, lift heavy weights, keep our muscle mass up. That is paramount. Running is a mental challenge, I feel like, more than a physical challenge. Now, like a lot of people, like if you're overweight, it's a lot harder to run than if you're fit, but it's more of a mind of like, okay, let's just get going. Just another step, another step, another step. When did the concept of challenging yourself for an ultra really come into play, and what made you want to start going down that road?
Mm, it kind of just progressed from being a little bit overweight and wanting to get back in shape and starting to realize what that meant to me, physically, spiritually. Running is not just like a physical connection with my body to me, it's also a spiritual connection with God. Whatever it is about running just releases those endorphins and makes me feel closer to God. I don't know why, but like that's my place in time. But I'd say that in progressing into just trying out running or getting back into it to lose weight, and then doing doing some half Ironmans with my buddy John, and then realizing that okay, maybe I wasn't so good at biking, maybe wasn't so good at swimming, but running was something that I just really enjoyed from that training aspect. To what's the next level of that? Like everybody's running marathons. That just didn't seem all that
Difficult.
difficult. It didn't seem all that important to me to prove that to myself. But the 100-mile milestone just seemed like something like, yeah, that's like that's worth my training for, I guess. I I can't really tell you why, other than just throughout the process, it just became more and more important to be dedicated to that, to myself, and to give myself that. And it's a very selfish thing to do, in my opinion, running ultra marathons, just because it does take up so much of your time. So I think the family aspect is something that a lot of guys need to be cautious of when it comes to that. But if you're young and you got the time, or if you got a partner who understands or a partner who does it with you, then get after it and seek that challenge. But yeah, as of right now, I don't have another one planned, but in a few years, I'll definitely be getting the itch again.
Yeah, I love it. I love that you just talked about, well, multiple things, and I want to hit on all of them. But real quick, you talked about the time commitment and it being a selfish act. I 100% agree with you. You had a fiance at the time. no kids. And so getting out on a Saturday and running a marathon with me was, like, yeah, let's just do it.
Yeah.
I had 3 kids and a brand new baby at the time, and time was of the essence for me to that was my window to be able to knock it out. And then after that, I was like, okay, I lost all the steam because COVID canceled the race 3 weeks before the run, and I was like, I don't have it in me, and my wife didn't have it in her to have me then continue
Yeah.
going
Yeah.
out and doing that. There was, but you're right, and that's one of the things that I find so fascinating about like hunting specifically is because it is such a selfish activity, but the selfish activity, if you end up getting good at it, ends up rewarding the family and your community that much more through your selfish act, or your selfish act becomes a selfless act in the end, which the running doesn't necessarily do that. Other than I will say, like what you talked about on the spiritual side of things, is running is my think time. It is the time
Yep.
where I'm not distracted by anyone else. No one's interrupting me. And I just am alone with my thoughts. And a lot of people get that when they're hunting or in a tree stand or up in the mountains, glassing a hillside. But when you're glassing a hillside, you're thinking about an object or, an end goal. When you're running, it's just like you don't have anything. You can listen to music, you can listen to audiobooks, all that, but like I found myself, I preferred to run with no headphones in after a while. And I just wanted to
Hmm.
just be alone.
Yep.
Talk
Yeah,
to
for sure.
talk to myself a lot. How much self-dialogue do you have in your head? And really like in general when you go through tough things.
Um, yeah, I guess the majority of my thought process is self-dialogue. There's a lot going on up there before something ever usually comes out of my mouth. Just because I feel like it's always better to be calculated about what you're going to do or say rather than just speak freely on a whim, and or even I do a lot of things where it could be risky, like hunting. I put myself into a lot of risky positions, firefighting, even just my normal everyday job in construction. Like there's all sorts of stuff where if you're just not on top of it, it could bite you pretty quickly. And
Mm-hmm.
so I guess one thing that's always stuck with me is like my biggest fear is incompetency. So when it comes to running, that's my time to process. Um, you know how like when you're starting a task and you're not so great at it, but then you go to bed and you sleep on it, and the next day you wake up and that thing that was like difficult the day before, all of a sudden the muscle memory's there.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say that running is like that for me, like, but instead of muscle memory, it's my thought process.
Mm.
It just, how often do you actually give yourself the amount of time you need or have the amount of time that you need in the moment to think about stuff? Well, running gives you that time.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I agree. I actually have a hard time in my daily life right now. I'm not a morning person. I don't like waking up early. And I more often than not go to bed late because I like to have a quiet house where I can do things without interruption and distractions but then that suffers in my sleep and then I don't want to get up early. So it's a vicious cycle of what you're talking about, but the point is that I don't get away from a time to quiet enough to meditate without distraction.
right.
And that
Yep.
meditation is so huge, right? Whether the spiritual aspect of it or just the self reflection, because inward reflection leads to outward correction. The mental muscle memory of what you're talking about is like all of a sudden something was really frustrating me, but because I thought on it, I came to understand it, and now I can progress and make moves off of that. Um, it's really fascinating. I love how you put that. So is that when you're hunting, does a lot of that mindset go with you, or are you so task oriented that um, you're you set off into the woods, be like, okay, I drew moose tag. My goal is moose, and get tunnel vision on that. Or are you able to be holistic in your mindset and carry along what you want to do as far as growing as an individual along with going out on the hunt.
Mm. It's a little bit of both, depending on the pursuit, how the pursuit's going.
Mm-hmm.
You know, is the pursuit providing that amount of time? Are you at a lull where you're just down in the dumps and you're trying to like outsmart the game, and think your way out of it and get back those steps ahead of them rather than being 2 steps behind them, kind of thing?
Mm-hmm.
Or is it a perfect day with the perfect wind? The animals are bugling. You can sneak in on them and you can get that tunnel vision and just make things happen. Like, yeah, I definitely have to say it's just situational dependent for me. Usually after a hunt, I'm really big into the after action reports where I go back and I think about, why a particular hunt was successful or not. Was it situations inside of my control or outside of my control that was leading to that success or unsuccess? But yeah, as far as the running goes, what I appreciate the most about it is the fact that you're able to give yourself that time while also accomplishing a physical activity, because physical fitness and being prepared for hunts and life and maintaining the ability to do all the things that I love to do, physical fitness is huge. It's a huge aspect of being able to do the things that I love to do,
Mm-hmm.
and being able to give myself the time to process things mentally while also getting a workout in and working on that. It's an incredible tool in the tool belt. So
Yeah, absolutely. I did something last year that I've never done before in my entire life, and it was extremely challenging. Not at the physical side of it was challenging in the first couple months. Then that became easy, but the hardest part was the self dedication and the commitment to it. And that was on January 1st. Yep, on January 1st of 2024, I said I was going to do 100 burpees a day every day of the year. So, and 100 burpees, if you're good at it, can take 10 minutes. It's not that much time to get a full body, great workout. You're breaking a sweat, you're breathing heavy, or it can take as long as you want. And I didn't set goals or parameters. It was just you have to complete 100 burpees, but you better do it every single day. And the every single day part was the absolute hardest thing to do, because there were some days where I was traveling for work or I'm up in the mountains hunting
yeah.
and I still have to get my burpees done. I was on a bear hunt last year in Idaho in the mountains in my full camo, like everything, and thinking, man, I really don't want to break a sweat right now because I need to be cautious of that, but I got to get down. And the hardest thing about it was always the first one. The very first one was the hardest. And I think that goes a lot to, whether it's taking up a new activity, learning how to hunt, learning how to shoot in long range shooting competitions, or get better at your craft, or taking on a ultra marathon, or taking on a nutrition challenge, or whatever it is. That first step is always the most difficult. And it came down to it a couple times where I was so exhausted from my day that I just wanted to go to bed. And it was the end of June last year. I was camping with my family. We're camping at a park and the kids were in bed and it's late at night and all I want to do is sit around a campfire with my wife and have a good time, but I haven't done my burpees yet. And so she got to sit around the campfire and I in my swimsuit because it was a humid Texas night, doing my 100 burpees on the grass right next to the campfire. And that was a moment of, she's like, you've gone this far. You're going to give up now? She's like, no, you do it. And I attribute it to my wife, like that. A small word can go a long way in someone's life. And
For sure.
and what she doesn't know, and I don't know if I've actually shared this with her, but that one moment of that decision of me getting on the ground and doing my burpees by the fire, there was another campsite, a guy with his family watching me, who ended up getting his life in order and taking his own personal challenge, and joined me in my revamping, re-kickstarting, readjusting our lifestyle. And he's gotten himself healthier ever since him watching me do my burpees by the fireside that night. And we still stay in contact. And it's just, and this is the point of everything. Someone's always watching. People are always watching. They may not tell you, but they're always watching how you operate, how are you going about things. And I did an episode not too long ago about leadership, but the point about leadership is, before you can lead others, you got to lead yourself. And if you can't lead yourself, then what are we doing?
Right.
What are we doing? Actually, I'm gonna. I was not planning on sharing this on this podcast, but I'm gonna read this today. I came across this on social media, and I've seen this before. And I'm this talking about self-governing, and this is more about like politics, but this has to go with personal discipline and leadership. So I'm going to read this to you. And it says, the shopping cart is the ultimate litmus test for whether a person is capable of self-governing. To return the shopping cart is an easy, convenient task, and one which we all recognize as the correct, appropriate thing to do. To return the shopping cart is objectively right. There are no situations other than dire emergencies in which a person is not able to return their cart. And simultaneously, it is not illegal to abandon your shopping cart. Therefore, the shopping cart presents itself as the apex example of whether a person will do what is right without being forced to do it. No one will punish you for not returning your shopping cart. No one will fine you or kill you for not returning it. You'll gain nothing by returning the shopping cart. You must return the shopping cart out of the goodness of your own heart. You must return the shopping cart because it is the right thing to do, because it is correct. A person who is unable to do this is no better than an animal, an absolute savage who can be made to do what is right by threatening them with a law and the force that stands behind it. The shopping cart is what determines whether a person is a good or bad member of society. I read that today. I was like, wow, that's deep and true. But here we are talking about, like, can you hold yourself accountable and lead yourself, right? Are you going to commit to getting fit for whatever activity, lifestyle you want to live? Are you going to commit to, being the best husband, father, worker, employee, business owner, like friend, brother, whatever it is? We always have that option, and we always have the option of doing it the right way or the wrong way. No one's going to fine us. No one's going to, we're not going to get in trouble, a demotion. We just do it because we want to do it, because we know it's the right thing to do. And
Right.
and I think that ties into our conversation very fitly right now. So I had to share that. You ever heard that before?
Well, I mean, I've thought about it in a different way, but accountability and commitment, they open the door to success. And alternatively, not returning that shopping cart leads you down a path of unsuccess. I mean, it just opens the door to progressively make things easier and easier throughout life. Well, I'm not going to put the toilet seat back down. I'm not going to close the garage door, and it just cascades. Whereas if you wake up every day where you're holding yourself accountable to things that are important to you, you're going to make yourself a better person.
Making your bed, right? There's a whole thing about the very first, a successful person, the very first thing that they do is make their bed, right? Because that is the very first task of the day. And whether you are successful at completing that task or unsuccessful determines how you're going to go about your day. Not because we get a bonus at the end, right? Or I mean, some wives might get on us a little more or not, but ultimately, like, you don't have to make your bed. No one ever forces you. But a clean house is sure, what was it on cleanliness is close to godliness, that saying, no
Mhm.
matter how true or fake that is. But like when life is no longer cluttered, it allows clarity. And clarity brings peace, it brings truth, it brings righteousness, and it allows opportunity for growth. Because if we're constantly consumed by clutter and distracted, that's the buzz of society. That's the everything that's getting in our way that we need to be able to remove. And that's why hunting is so powerful when we are able to go out in nature, go out into the wild. When we go out on a run, we are removing ourselves from the buzz so that we can focus. And when you don't make your bed, that's just a bunch of buzz distracting us. So, man, I love it. See, I can get down on these philosophical talks all the time. And this is what you and I, how we used to talk when we'd run. We talk about the things that are just on our heart and on our minds for that day, and that's beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Do you want to talk any more about that, or do you want to get into your epic moose hunt that you drew?
Let's talk some hunting, and if we need to circle back, or if it does, we can.
I love it. Okay, so you moved to Idaho, you got residency, and then right after that, you just went on a holy terror of hunting in the state of Idaho. What came first, your wolf tag, or your wolf hunt, or your moose?
Wolf.
The
Yeah,
wolf.
Wolf was. I think that was 2023, spring of 2023. I want to say. I had a buddy, high school buddy. He lives in Georgia now, but he reached out to me, said, "Hey, I've been seeing some of your social media posts about all your hunts and stuff. I'm really interested in getting into that. Do you mind showing me the ropes?" And he's super dedicated to fitness, so that already kind of checked that box that tends to make me a little bit nervous about my typical style of being able to be successful with animals. Not always the case, but more and more I find myself
Yeah.
just pushing the limits of a lot of people, and that being the reason why I find success. But yeah, Marco, he flew up from Georgia. He was able to get more time off than I was, so he went in a few days ahead of me just to kind of get his bearings and scout it out and whatnot, and tied in with him. And he's like, "Man, I haven't seen anything. I'm pretty sure I had a cougar up in a tree above me. I got all freaked out. I found this moose paddle." I was like, "Dude, congrats. That's awesome already." But he's like, "I've been out here for, I think it was like 4 or 5 days, and he hadn't seen anything." I was like, "Well, tells me that the area that you're in that I wanted you to check out is like kind of no good. Let's go check out a different area then."
Yeah.
And so that next morning, we hike in, and we get up out of the thick timber and kind of up into the more ridgy alpiney stuff, and come across just like the freshest bear scat you've ever seen, like straight from the source.
Wow.
Greasy, black, grassy, like all the right stuff. Flies on it. And I'm like, I look back at Marco and I'm like, "Dude, get your gun ready. Like, now's the time to load one in the chamber and walk carefully.
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be a bear." So we just start going through the just the natural timber cuts, bumping from through one timber cut. I say cut, it's not actually logged, but basically just timber edge out into a grassy opening on the hillside, and then back into a timber edge. And if you go, I believe it was that same podcast, but if you go back and listen to that, like some of the things that they say is like, if you're ever around bears in fair or bad weather, they're going to stick to timber pockets because they can retreat into those and bed up. And then as soon as the sun comes out, they'll come back out and feed. So as we're kind of bumping through those, every time we hit that grass, I'm like expecting there to be a bear. And I was probably 10, 15 yards up ahead of Marco. And as we're progressing along, side hilling, I've got my head on a swivel, left, right, just looking for anything. And sure enough, as we're almost to the next timber patch, I looked down slope to my right, and this bear had stood up, and we were basically up on like a little flat shelf, and he was down some really steep stuff, and I could see the top of his ears when he stood up and looked at me. And I just froze. He couldn't see me, but I could see the top of his ears. And I looked back at Marco, and I just gave him like the signal, like bear, right down there, like mouthed it. And we're just frozen there. The bear had gone back down, but I couldn't see what it went down to. I couldn't tell if it had gone down and like taken off, or if it had gone down and was just chilling in that exact same spot. But I put my earplugs in, I tell him to plug his ears, and I just slowly creep over that ridge. And when I did, I got full view of that bear, and it just stood right back up on me. Probably like, we never actually measured it out, but I would assume it was like sub 30 yards. And
Oh, wow.
I just never taken a standing shot on a bear until that day. But yeah, just aimed exactly where I thought the heart would be, and it was lights out. That bear kissed his toes, and fortunately he was on a little like deer bed, essentially like a nice little flat spot too. He just piled up right there.
That's so cool.
Yeah. Well, and then 3 days later, we're still hunting, trying to get Marco a bear. And that's when I was able to, I was glassing up this timber edge, and 2 wolves came out of that. And I was like, no way. I've never seen wolves in the wild before, especially like, behind your own glass. And it's like, dude, Marco, I know we're looking for bears. There's wolves right there, man. Like, you've been spending all this time trying to find a bear. What do you say about shooting a wolf? So I gave him first shot at the wolves. It was a breeding pair, male and female. They had come down out of the timber, probably ran another 100, 200 yards down slope, and they were kind of sitting on the edge of a few trees. And the male had progressed down towards the creek bottom out of sight. The female kind of stayed in place at 475 yards from Marco. And he got set up, and I was just watching the shot through the spotter. And I watched him take the shot, and it missed her. It was low. And so I saw the splash of dirt out in front of her, and she turned and ran back up to that timber line. And I don't know that I've ever heard anybody say it, but my intuition was, man, we just split up a breeding pair. Like, there's no way that male is going to leave her. Now that they're split up, she's either going to circle around, he's either going to circle around. Guarantee they don't really know what happened. Let's give it some time. Mm-hmm. Go over to where we last saw her at, and I bet you he'll be down below. Mm-hmm. And so we snuck over there, took the long way around, snuck over there, and got to right where she was at. And I did the same thing I did with that bear. I peeked over the edge, and that wolf was he was like 80 yards down below us. And he sees me, and he turns and starts heading down to the creek. And I just let out a hoot. And while I let out that hoot, I was already getting like one earplug in, getting the other one in, and then just pulled up, standing shot, 156 yards, drilled him right behind the shoulder. And he went another 80 yards down into the creek bottom, left like a 3 foot wide by 30 feet long swath of blood just right to where he was at. I was like, oh my goodness, what did I just do?
Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty epic. It was quite the hole that we were down in. And one person that I left out of the story, my brother-in-law, Andrew, he's been along on the trip with us the entire time too. He lives up in Alaska and he flew down because he grew up in Washington with me. And he wanted to experience North Idaho, and I was letting him know, like, I don't really know much about the country, but I know how to hunt bears in Washington. Let's go apply it to Idaho and see what we can do. And fortunately for me, Andrew has experience with wolves up in Alaska. Since he's moved up to Alaska, he's gotten proficient at trapping wolves. And where this all kind of ties into play is Andrew has the knowledge of how to completely tube out a wolf. And so we were able to tube my wolf out on the mountainside and carry it out, hide and head. And I was able to take that to Wildlife Creations here in Hayden, Idaho, and have them turn it into one of those soft mounts. So I've got,
dude, you got the full size. How far away is it from where you're sitting right now? Go grab it.
It's right there.
Oh my gosh, that is so awesome. What did they charge you for that? Because I'm going to shoot a wolf and I'm going to do the exact same thing. My kids would absolutely love it.
I can't say that it's the same price nowadays, but it was $1,100. And I got $1,000 bounty for shooting the wolf, which played a huge role into Shauna letting me get that done. Because I'm sure everybody's wives can think of a lot better use of $1,000.
Right. Especially nowadays. Are you glad that you did it with that type of mount?
Yeah, absolutely.
How often do you find yourself like picking it up or, a
couple times a month?
Yes.
I mean, I've got a daughter, we've got other dogs, like they're always over there playing with it. The dogs aren't really sure what to think of it. Like my one dog, Roma, when I first brought it in, she completely cowered and like went complete beta for it. Like just didn't want anything to do with it. And then next thing you know, she's warming up to it. And now she like, I work up in this area. This is my work office. And she comes up here every day with me. And she always goes and sniffs its butt and then comes over and noses its nose. Like to her, somehow she just thinks it's like a super chill dog. And then our other dog, Dilla, at first she did not appreciate it. She didn't think it was very cool.
Oh, really?
Because she's the alpha of our house as far as she's concerned. And so that thing coming in with the straight face like it has, she would just get this like low growl and then like a huffing bark, like It was just like, dude, calm down. It's not real. But yeah, she's warmed up to it a little bit. But now Sophia's all about it. She's always over there playing with the ears and everything. So.
Dude, that's so cool. That is awesome. Have you had an itch to go chase wolves more now, or is that more like a target of opportunity?
Well, target of opportunity for sure, but when everything else is kind of, when all the other seasons are closed, which surprisingly in North Idaho, or for people who don't live in North Idaho and aren't familiar, that there's almost always something that you can be pursuing. That's another, I mean, that played a huge role into Shauna and I wanting to be here. Just hunting opportunities, just so critical to our choice to move. But it's a tag. I always carry multiple tags because breeding pairs, but it's a tag that you always have in your pocket. If you're shed hunting, you're wolf hunting. If you're turkey hunting, you're wolf hunting. Like if you're turkey hunting, you better bet that I have a rifle back at the truck or in the side-by-side, like ready to go just in case, because it's like winning the lottery essentially when it happens, and you better be ready to make it happen because they're such smart animals. They're not going to give you a second chance, or in my case they will, but you better capitalize on it when it does happen if they do give you a second chance. Yeah, man. Dude, they're majestic creatures, and I know there's a lot of people who wish they weren't here, but my opinion, it's just another pursuit of game. It's another pursuit it's another predator on the landscape that we get to help manage. So
I think that's the biggest issue is like, I totally down with wolves. Just let us hunt them, right? Like, let-
yeah,
don't,
yeah, exactly.
don't outlaw it, but introduce it. So yeah, I'm with you
Right.
on that. Um, I got to see a wolf on my very first bear hunt in Idaho, and I was about
Awesome.
30 yards from it, and I'm glassing, and I don't know why, but I brought my glass down to the tree line where there was a trail that went through, and I saw dog legs. I was like, how did somebody with a dog get all the way up here? Why is there a dog? And all of a sudden I was like, that's a wolf. And it already, by the time I spotted it, it turned around and was going the other direction. I never saw it again, but I was so close, gun in hand. I was ready to rock,
Yeah,
dude.
they're sly, man. Especially once they have been hunted, they get real smart.
Really interesting. Well, okay, real quick question on the bear hunting. Since you said you knew how to spring bear hunt or bear hunt in Washington, and then you went to Idaho, is there really any difference state to state when you're hunting these animals, bear
I
specific?
kind of like how I touched on earlier. You need to be familiar with like what's allowed in the unit that you're pursuing them. When in Idaho, we have hound hunting seasons and we have baiting seasons, and we have units that allow those, and we have units that don't. In Unit 1, there is no hound hunting and no baiting. So the bears are going to react, and you're going to find them in the same exact locations like you would in a state where that's also not allowed.
Mm.
So that's where they kind of have that common ground with Washington. I was used to hunting Washington black bears, which don't get pressured by hounds, and you're not allowed to bait them. So you're going to find them in those natural food sources. You're going to find them closer to the roads, or you'll find them far away from the roads, but in the same general landscape. Whereas in Idaho, like just yesterday, Sunday, when I was out, um, we got up extra early. We went in and we were up high, and we were the only people up on that road system, and we were dropping down off the road quite a ways into the different glassing ridges and different glassing drainages and whatnot, and not really seeing what we wanted to see. And the weather was kind of switching, and so we just kind of popped back up to the truck, and we were heading out, and we started running into all of the guys that were going to start baiting for the season. Now baiting's been open in those areas since April, but those guys are smart too. They know that the bears, and guys have been baiting since April too. But I guess what I'm getting at is, like, as we were coming out, we were running into guys that were going to start baiting, which gives me a clue as to where the bears are going to be concentrated the next coming weeks. Breeding, breeding is going to happen, and bears are going to breed, and the boars are going to travel, but the sows are going to get concentrated to those baits. And so if you're going to hunt that unit, where do you need to focus in order to find bears that aren't going to be drawn to those baits? Well, you're going to have to get away from a lot of the roads, a lot of the ATV access. Because even horsebackers, like my buddy Kyle, he's got no problem going 14 miles in with bait on a horse, and doing 3 trips in a day,
Mm-hmm.
Or having a string of animals to bring bait in. Like, whenever you think whenever you think you've got it figured out, there's always a guy that's a little bit more dedicated that's going to push it a little bit harder. So you better figure out how you're going to beat not only the animal, but your competitor as well. And that's a lot of the ways that I go about e-scouting for animals, and or focusing my limited amount of time in the woods.
Interesting. Interesting. I
Yeah.
love that. I love that perspective. As you're sharing this info, last year, um, when I went to Idaho for a spring bear hunt, um, half the hunt was over bait, half the hunt was not over bait, and we had success. My buddy Sam shot a gorgeous, gorgeous chocolate boar over a bait pile first evening. And I'm so new at the whole baiting that I didn't realize that if you shoot something off a bait pile, nothing's going to be coming to it for a while, or at least that was
Hmm.
what I was told. I don't know. I
Right.
have no evidence as to if that's true or not, but I know that there was no activity on the game camera for the rest of the time while we were there on that barrel. So we also went off into the woods, but we were not getting away from roads very much. And there was a lot of other bait piles up there. Like we'd run into bait sites. And I was like,
Right.
oh, okay. So what you're saying is they're there because they're concentrated there. But the issue is that they don't want to loiter there. They want to go into those timber patches. And that might mean you have to really get off the beaten track to go find them.
I Yeah, that, and I guess what I mean is like wherever the scent's going to carry to, and bears have a better nose than a bloodhound, so I've been told. Wherever that scent of that bait is going to carry to, it's going to attract that bear. So you need to get far enough away from those ridges, drainages, because a lot of baiting guys, they bait ridges and drainages because those tend to suck or pull wind in particular locations. And that particular location usually is a creek drainage, and that creek drainage pulls wind. And so every animal in that creek drainage is going to be pulled to that bait. So you need to get out of that creek drainage and find another creek drainage that has maybe a road in the bottom, but it ends and there's a long hike in, and now all of a sudden you get to pick a, a separate creek drainage that nobody else can get bait into. There's no dedicated trail system in the top. There's maybe just one in the bottom. Does that bottom trail system look like it's accessible to horsebackers? If it is, you're going to have them as competition for baiting. And that's generally why I stay out of baiting units all around. But in our area, you kind of can treat, like, for instance, the real reason why we went in yesterday was because my buddy's buddy shot a wolf 3 weeks ago in that same creek drainage.
Mm.
And so the nice thing about Idaho, like I'm saying, is like these long seasons where you can pursue multiple game species makes it all the worth your while to carry all those tags in your pocket. And every opportunity in the woods is just another opportunity to, one, either scout new country, try and find sheds that nobody else has found, try and find wolf dens, try and find bear dens, try and find bears, try and find elk, try and find, the list goes on. You're just checking boxes and making notes. And Onyx and HuntLeague, I mean, that's where I record all of my stuff to make sure that when a buddy sends me an e-scouted pin for a certain drainage or area or whatever, says, what do you think about this? Or have you been in here? Like, I have all of these references. I can usually just screenshot it and send it over to him and be like, this is what I found. Good luck. Or I'd love to come with you, or, whatever. But
I freaking love it. I love it. Dude, good for you. Good for you. Okay, so that's a great, awesome story. Great advice. Great tidbits for people who are going out this season. Um, dude, I want to hear about this moose hunt. You drew an oil tag. Is that a once in a lifetime, or
yeah,
can you? Oh, okay. So you draw a once in a lifetime tag in Idaho, and then you go fill it. Like that's phenomenal. What type of like emotions did you have with that from the day that you found out you drew it all the way to the time you got to lay your hands on it?
unbelievably blessed. The amount of people who came together who weren't even present on the hunt. I mean, I had lots of people present there to help me on the hunt, but the people that came together just to give me the time off from work, just to cover shifts at the fire department, just to go above and beyond in my personal life to allow me to also to have another selfish moment. Like you said, hunting is rewarding to others because we're able to harvest the animal and share. And when it comes to moose, there's a lot of meat to share. So that's really awesome. Um, but just like throughout the entire hunt, I set aside, after I drew it, I set aside 3 weeks that I would plan to take, like a get in there on a Friday night kind of thing, to wherever I plan to call base camp, and then hunt through to the following Sunday morning, and then pull out, and then call that a week chunk. And my tag opened on September 15th, so I wanted to be there for the opener. So I started September 14th, and I planned to, September 14th through September 23rd, and then I'd do another week in October, and then another week in November if I needed it. But when it comes to planning out a once in a lifetime tag, you kind of have to be prepared to do that, in my opinion, to give yourself the most ample time for success. And I didn't necessarily have like a trophy in mind. I've never been really a guy that cared about Boone and Crockett scores, Pope and Young scores. I've never nerded out on learning how to score animals. It's always just been kind of like a feeling of the adventure, and has the adventure felt rewarding enough to me for this animal's life to be taken. And that plays into a lot of my style of hunting too, is like, I like to challenge myself during the hunt, because me personally, I feel like, this is not to dig on anybody else, but me personally, I feel like the more adventure that goes into my hunts, the more respect I have for the animal, the more I appreciate the animal. Like, it all kind of ties in and plays together. So, I had several people ask me, like, what are you going to hold out for? What are you going to hold out for? And it's like, well, I've collected a few moose paddles in Idaho, and I kind of have an idea of what big bulls are supposed to be, but I'm not gonna pass up at every bull I see until I find a Boone and Crockett bull. It's going to be more about the adventure that goes into it. And when I drew it, my brother-in-law, Andrew, who lives in Alaska, he reached out and said, "Hey man, I would love to be a part of this." Andrew's a man of few words, but lots of hunting experience and knowledge, and very giving individual, especially to take time off to fly down from Alaska and come help me out for 9 days.
Yeah.
So Andrew flies down, the wife, the father-in-law, my buddy Lance, we all pack up, we head down to the camp spot that we had picked out, and Shauna got to be there for a while, Sophia got to be there for a while, my father-in-law got to be there for a while, and they were just kind of maintaining camp. But that's a huge aspect of the hunt as well. Like, the fact that they were back there maintaining camp for me was such a blessing, because I literally got to wake up, go hunting, have my lunch already packed. Like, I have my lunch already packed, come back, have dinner already made, rinse and repeat. Like,
wow.
I mean, it doesn't get much better than that. And then even when they had to leave, like, they set us up in such a way where we already had tacos pre-made. We already had spaghetti pre-made. We already had brats. Like, we just pulled out, and they made things as easy as possible because they knew how important this was. And having that support in having those loved ones and friends know how important something like this is a huge role in huge player in the success I was able to have. But Andrew rolled around with me for 9 days, and he is one heck of a cow moose caller. Whatever the bull moose likes, Andrew can say it, and it's not with a reed. It's with his throat. He's just able to make that nasally cow moose noise. I don't know. I like to think that I kind of already have a nasally voice, so I should be able to, but I just can't do it like he can. But he was getting responses, I think there was maybe only a day during that 9-day hunt that we didn't get moose to respond to us. And this was kind of early in September, or sorry, not early in September, but early in the moose rut. Because the moose rut typically takes place very beginning of October. We're still, I think I harvested my moose on the 23rd of September. So he was probably just starting to get fired up.
Wow.
But yeah, hearing that sound that those bulls make is pretty awesome too. But I guess what I'm getting at though is like Andrew, um, Andrew's dedication to coming down played a big role into me taking that moose as well. No, it wasn't the biggest moose. It is a 40-inch moose. It's a great moose. Absolutely love it. Absolutely. But what made it so special for me and what played into that, because, I had already set aside 2 more weeks of vacation to take off. But what ultimately made me feel like this is the moose, this is the adventure, is spending that time with my brother-in-law in the woods for those 9 days, having that family back at that camp and thinking about like what this harvest meant to the entire adventure.
Right.
And having my wife pack me a lunch that said, today's the day. Like every day she wrote little fun sayings like, go get them, that kind of stuff. But this one particular lunch, and she isn't even back at camp, but I pulled it out of, the Costco tote that day and tossed it in, not even looking at it.
Yeah.
But it said, today's the day. And then, having that moose, is our last full evening before we were going to have to pack up the following day and pull out because Andrew was going to have to fly home on Monday. And we got into a new area. It felt pretty moosey. And we ended up stumbling across a bull's bedroom. You could tell he'd been feeling his oats all summer long. He's ready to go. There's got to be a bull around here somewhere. It's getting to be about go time. It's like 5:30 at night. Sun sets at 7. And I just look over at Andrew and I go, all right, let's hear that cow moose and make it sexy. And he just smiles and just kind of turns away. He's a funny guy. If you embarrass him, he shows it pretty well. Like if you say stuff like that, he'll turn beet red. And but anyways, he goes to get set up to call, and I go to get set up to glass and shoot, just because there's this one particular open face out in front of us about 600 plus minus yards away. And he starts calling, and we're not hearing anything for the first 5-10 minutes probably. But then next thing you know, we hear that off in the distance, and we're like, did you hear that? Did I hear that? Did you? Like, because we've been hearing this stuff all week long, and then next thing you know, you started wondering if you're just imagining it, because it's just that last opportunity you might get. But sure enough, he got that bull moose so fired up that he not only came out of the timber onto that 600 yard away face, but that bull decided to drop all the way down into the creek bottom, come all the way back up to where we were at, and sneak around us and get into his bedroom, and then proceed to try and call us, this all hot and bothered cow, into his bedroom
for a little sexy time.
Yeah. So I get between Andrew and the bull, and the bull's kind of dropped down into a little marshy alder patch. And Andrew's up behind me about 60 yards, just thrashing some alder, pretending to be a bull that's now intercepted that hot cow. And I just started slowly progressing down into that bedroom. And as I got down in there, that bull, I'm guesstimating, but somewhere between 10 and 15 yards, he walks out broadside, and I just see like they're totally black creatures, I guess. I mean, especially in our neck of the woods, but their coats are like jet black. Their legs are like gray white. Their eyes are black, but then they have the whites of their eyes, and they have these big giant paddles on their heads that are, tan colored. And I just remember seeing this, like the white of his eye, then his paddles kind of like wave as he walks just perpendicularly right in front of me, like not even like looking through me back up to where Andrew's at. I'm just like, oh my goodness. And I had already seen I had already seen his paddles when he came out onto the ridge at 600, or out onto that timber cut at 600 yards. And I was already like, oh yeah, if he comes over here, he's a shooter for sure. I don't care. Like I'm not going to be counting points, trying to measure paddles, distance, whatever. Like if he commits, and we can make this happen, it's happening.
If he commits, I'm committing.
Yeah. 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 At that moment, it didn't matter about the size of his paddles. It mattered about the fact that that entire hunt was just so amazing to have all of those people there, to support me, and to have my brother-in-law grind it out with me for 9 days and just have the time of our lives, just hanging out, being bros. That was more important to me than the size of this bull. And man, a bull moose at 12 yards or 10, 15, whatever, when you pull up a scope that has a minimum power of, what is my, it's 4 power, minimum of 4 power. Like all of a sudden, all you're seeing is black because it's just this big, giant black body. But I was able to find that shoulder crease, and gave him one. And he, I wish I would have had my bow, because it was like no more than 100 yards away up at the side-by-side, just hanging out right there, because I was totally expecting a rifle shot. And then all of a sudden he comes running in, he closes the distance before I can even make it back to the side-by-side.
Yeah.
But he gets a little bit, he just basically runs up out of his bedroom and up onto a road and turns and looks back at me. And I'm like, oh, okay. And I gave him one again. And he laid down right then and there. And I was going to walk up towards him, and he sat back up, and I gave him another one. All 3 shots, which that's what surprised me, was all 3 shots were like no more than 2 inches apart. And there's really no frame of reference, especially when they're that close, as to kind of what you're looking at when you're shooting, other than just like pulling up your scope, scanning over to the head, seeing the antlers, finding the shoulder, and coming back right behind it. And so that's what I just kept doing. But that was his final resting place, right on the road. We were able to pull a side-by-side right up to him, throw the high beams, butcher him out. Dude, yeah. My parents weren't even able to be there, but they let me use their side-by-side for this entire trip, which was a huge blessing. To be able to have a rig that can get you into places that a truck can't is again, they were part of my support system that made this once in a lifetime hunt all the more meaningful, and really, again, make it so I just didn't care about the size of the score, the antlers, the score of the paddles. It was just about the adventure.
So I always heard you shoot moose until they're dead. Were you shocked that it didn't drop when you shot it at that close distance? Or what caliber were you shooting? What type of bullet are you shooting? Did you recover a bullet, or was it clear pass through? What type of, like, what did your rifle do to that animal?
Well, my thought process, my family's thought process is shoot anything until it's dead. And so not just moose, but I was using a 7 PRC 175 grain ELDX. And I don't, in looking at what the bullet did, I guess if you want to call it a necropsy, or basically like as you're breaking down the animal and processing the meat, looking at what it did to its insides, that bullet went in there and just, for the most part, grenaded. All 3 of them did. He was just that tough. And I see that time and time again, where you can shoot a bear in the heart at 420 yards, and that bear could be missing the entire top portion. The whole aortic arch is gone from this thing. There's no more supply of blood going to the body, but it'll still get up and run 80 yards.
The will to live is phenomenal. It's really,
Absolutely.
really impressive. Dude,
especially in those wild things. So yeah. Um, yeah.
dude, that's awesome. That is absolutely incredible. Did you get a special rifle for that hunt, or were you just using what you use in the 7 PRCs, just what you carry in the woods?
Well, I didn't get a special rifle specifically for that hunt, but I just had recently had a custom rifle built by Unknown Munitions, a rifle builder in my town here in Post Falls, Idaho. And I tend to lean towards more lighter recoiling guns because I like being able to spot my shot and make the follow up shots. Like
Mm-hmm.
if they're dead with one, well, why not two if they're still moving? Like, you know, um, and being able to see that even better. And so I was a little bit nervous in going to the 7 PRC, but we have a 6.5 PRC that's my wife's rifle, and I shoot that really well. And in the anticipation of having that built, I did start to get a little bit nervous about whether or not I'd still be able to spot my shot.
Mm-hmm.
And the rifle I had built comes in, with a suppressor, scope, bipod. I'm sitting at right at 11 pounds, which is pretty hefty. A lot of guys would probably say it's pretty hefty in terms of a hunting rifle that you're going to be packing around. But the advantage of that is I am still able to spot my shot
Mm-hmm.
with a 7 PRC. So that's kind of where as far as what I see, it's kind of like the happy area for that rifle and the recoil that it produces. But yeah.
Right, right. Dude, that's awesome. That is awesome. Man, brother, you're getting me all excited. We got to hunt together. You
Yeah.
got to come to Texas. I got to come to Idaho. We got to figure out a way to do this because getting back in community with you, hearing you talk, how you operate, you make me want to be in community with you, brother. Seriously, Jake, or Jake. I'm thinking Jake from Unknown Munitions. Joshua.
Oh yeah,
Um,
yeah, yep.
sorry, sorry, I can't believe I just called you the wrong name. Joshua, I love you, bro. I love you. Honored. Your stories are inspiring. You got me going. I'm there with you. Um, Dude, thanks for sharing everything. This is a
Yeah.
great episode. Very inspiring. I'm ready to go chase bear. I'm going to take some of the stuff that you've applied in your hunts and apply it to mine. Go back and look at my scouting, see what can I dig up a little bit more than what I have already, and go for it. And then also, great reminder to go back and listen to old episodes of the podcast because there's
Yeah,
great info in there and
there is.
not to be missed. So. I love it. What hunts you got planned for this fall?
Well, we got another baby on the way in October, so that kind of threw a wrench into things. Um, it's kind of funny. We made such a big deal about not having a baby during hunting season for our first one,
Yeah.
and then we just blew that all out of the water on this one. Um, but praying to God that it's a boy because I'd love to give him a hunting birthday, I suppose. So that's going to be really cool. And my daughter, I mean, Sophia, she's going to be hunting with us as well. There's nothing to knock against girls, but also a big player into praying to God that it's a boy is just we really wanted that family dynamic of a boy and a girl.
Yeah.
But back on topic, we've got some archery elk hunts coming up. I've got this Memorial Day weekend. I'm heading out for spring bear for Sunday through Sunday. It's kind of like my dedicated time every year since I started hunting spring bears in Idaho is that Memorial Day weekend. Just can't get the full Memorial Day weekend in this year because of a buddy's wedding, which I'd like to remind all the listeners, if you haven't gotten married yet, don't get married during hunting season. You're doing a huge disservice to your friends.
Yeah. Memorial weekends off limits, Labor Day weekends off limits, and the 4th of July. Like let's just let's just call it what it is because every holiday from there on out is just going to be wrapped up with anniversary stuff.
But yeah, you know, we'll see how the hunting season progresses because I will hopefully be able to hit archery elk super hard this year. But as far as, rifle deer in October, or if I don't get it done for archery elk in September, rifle elk in October, it's going to be a little bit higher priorities in the Katanik household with another baby around. So,
golly, I love it. I love it. Yeah, brother, just wait. Just wait. My kids are just now starting to like really get into hunting. And I got them a 22 Creedmoor. By the way, all of you listeners, by the time this episode releases or right after, we're going to be doing in collaboration with Carbon TV an epic giveaway. We're giving away an entire rifle, but
awesome.
a custom rifle that the winner has actually put together themselves. So we got a barreled action from Kelbley's with a carbon barrel chambered in 22 Creedmoor Atlas Light action, Graybow Eagle Pro stock, Timney Hunter trigger, Leupold VX3 HD 4.5 to 14, a Huxworks Flow 762 suppressor, and just, I mean, that's like $5,000 to $6,000 package that we're going to be giving away.
Oh yeah.
So that's all you have to do is go like the post and tag a couple people, and it's going to be a giveaway on Instagram. That's going to be coming out first week of June. But be on the lookout of that. So, dude, get in. That 22 Creedmoor, 100% the ultimate kid's rifle. Like,
right.
I can't wait to hunt with it this year, but my boys are shooting that. I set them up on a tripod at a local range, and they're shooting steel targets. Granted, they are larger steel targets, but I set them up, dialed their dope off a tripod, 710 yards first impact. Bam. And I'm like, oh, yeah.
That's what I'm talking about with the light recoiling rifles, man.
Yeah.
That's more important than that big bang that or maybe not anymore, but everybody used to be chasing.
Right. Well, it's all about the speed, I feel like. And I'm going to be doing an episode on speed kills. The concept is like, if you have a bullet that does what it's supposed to do, combined with the speed, the caliber or the magnum or all that doesn't really matter. So we'll find out. We're going to have Colton Bonioli join me once again for another episode. We're going to be talking about that. But, brother, I love it. Best of luck this coming year and all your hunting endeavors on your bear hunt. Congratulations on baby number 2 coming in the fall. Really proud of you. I'm honored to call you a friend and a brother and a warrior. You are a great inspiration and a great ambassador for hunting. So really appreciate you, Joshua.
Thanks, Johnny. Love you, bro.
Yeah, I love you too. Listeners, if you enjoyed this podcast, please make sure to leave a comment, rating, review, like, subscribe. All that helps share the mission of mentorship as conservation. Remember that if you want hunting to last for generations to come, then it's up to you. It's up to you to be the change you want to see in the world. And it only takes a spark to start a fire. It only takes one invitation to say, hey, you want to come along? Hey, do you want to learn how to do this? Would you like to experience that? And you can transform someone's lives and the lineage of their entire family from that moment on. Remember that it's time to be vocal and to stand up for what you believe in. Be blessed. Thanks for listening to this episode. Be on the lookout for that giveaway that's coming in the beginning of June on Instagram and Carbon TV. For Johnny Mack and Joshua Katanik, be blessed, freedom on, and as always, stay soulful. If you enjoyed today's podcast and want to support the show, you can always like, share, subscribe, and leave a rating as it helps us share our mission of mentorship as conservation. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of Soul Seekers Nation as we transform lives through primal adventure.